Welcome to Matters Financial and Geopolitical from the Frontier. Thank you as always for stopping by. I'm certainly looking forward to the holidays. I'm sure you are as well. It's a holiday mood in Nairobi if you go by the traffic. Sub-Saharan Africa, US military says 62 Al-Shabab militants have been killed in 6 airstrikes conducted on December the 15th and December the 16th in the Gandarshe area south of Mogadishu. And they've really stepped up the amount of interventions the US Africa Command. They're saying US airstrikes in Somalia this year are inching closer to 50, with over 300 militants killed. Interesting piece in the FT, America's scrambled approach to Africa. Washington's Hobbesian new strategy belongs to a bygone era. This is the editorial board. If his speech on Friday is the guide, Washington's take on Africa is stuck somewhere between the 19th century scramble and the Cold War, when the continent played proxy for superpower rivalry. Mr. Bolton depicts US relations with Africa as a geostrategic board game in which Africans have less agency than a pawn. Whatever predatory moves by Chinese and Russian policymakers may be going on, he somehow finds America to be the principal victim. Great power competitors, namely China and Russia, are rapidly expanding their financial and political influence across Africa. They are deliberately and aggressively targeting their investments in the region to gain a competitive advantage over the United States, he said. It is unlikely many Africans will welcome the prospect of returning to the era of us or them development partners depicted in this vision, or feel much sympathy if America is the one left behind. The pioneering spirit with which Americans built their nation has been notably absent from US Africa policy. This is increasingly focused on combating militant Islamists and terrorism at the expense of a more multifaceted approach. If there is a positive draw, it is that Washington is waking up to the need to re-engage, and that to do so effectively it must place economic ties to Africa up the priority list. My conclusions are it's become very binary, us versus them. Bowing out as President Congo's Kabila raises prospect of a return act. In the 18 years since a youthful, clean-shaven Kabila succeeded his slain father, Laurent Desire Kabila, and now bulked-up president sporting a billowy grey beard, has traced an unlikely trajectory from accidental and apparently reluctant leader to the defining Congolese figure of his time. Kabila saw what happened in Angola, that's why he chose the person who is the most loyal and above all the least threatening to his personal power, said Manya Riche, who advised Kabila from 2008 to 2011. Referring to an arrangement in which Putin remained Russia's dominant lead as prime minister until he could run for president again, she said, "This isn't Russia. At a certain point here, it's the chief who's in the chair who is the chief." Kabila, of course, rarely speaks in public, but has been quite voluble of late. Driven by mistrust of almost everyone outside a tight circle of family that includes his twin sister Janet and young brother Zoe, people who have worked closely with him said. He appeared serene. "Look at my face. Do I look worried?" He told Reuters. "I am not worried." In another article I saw on Yahoo, it said, "If there is war, elections are nothing. DR Congo refugees in Uganda told me ahead of presidential polls this weekend." Ethiopian Airlines reopens the Moscow route after 27 years. Ambassador Bolton should be told. India has agreed to provide $1.4 billion in financial assistance to the Maldives as New Delhi seeks to restore what has been its waning influence over the strategically significant archipelago nation. India is not only our closest friend, it is also one of our longest trading partners. Mr. Modi said in a press statement, "India is always with you. The security of our two countries is interlinked." So they've muscled China to some degree in the Maldives. Excellent article, academic, Quintessence of Macroeconomic Uncertainty in the DR Congo. Really great detail, look at inflation, look at the FX rate. Characterizes the country as being in a fragile state on the edge, a product of the postponement of the 2016 presidential elections. A lot of analysis there, well worth reading, and it's giving you quite a long sweep. Prices are soaring in Zimbabwe amid dire shortages of foreign exchange, bread, medicines and fuel. The official inflation rate rose to 31% in November. The month-on-month inflation rate in November was 9.2% compared to 16.44% in October, however, which means that prices rose from October to November, but they went up at a slower pace than they did in the previous month. Interesting article in Bulawayo 24 News actually could be the reason why Mugabe is no longer in power, because he wanted Chinese companies to be under Zimbabwean miners, thus posing a threat to Beijing's diamond interests and long-term future reserves. China has intensified its grip, control and access to Zimbabwe's mineral wealth by reportedly demanding diamonds and oil drilling rights from President Emerson Mnangagwa's government as payment for printing and backing a new Zimbabwean currency and the building of an opulent new capital city in Mount Hamden. New Zimbabwe dollars expected to be launched in early 2020. Interesting article. It's all about oil and diamonds, and one envoy representing a South Asian country. China has demanded for oil rights and exclusive access to your country's diamonds and Marangi without having to cede ownership of those assets to locals under the indigenization threshold. South African all shares down 13.35% year-to-date. Dollar rand is near the top of the range at 14.365. Egyptian pound 17.9207. Nigerian all share down 19.96% year-to-date. This is a photograph of Ghana's central coast from Howard French. Ghana's stock exchange is down 4.05% year-to-date. There are signs Africa's market rout is not over yet, says Paul Wallace, and then talks about, have a look at the chart he posted, which is of African Eurobond yields. The sell-off has left equities in South Africa, Egypt, Nigeria and Kenya at or near their cheapest levels in years. But he concludes by saying bargain hunters won't necessarily jump in next year. Risks abound from tense elections in Nigeria and South Africa to low oil prices, potential credit rating downgrades and the prospect of sovereign defaults. And then he analyzes each individual country. Take a look if you're interested in that. Let's move on to Kenya. I'm pleased to have joined other heads of state and government for the opening roundtable meeting of the Africa-Europe 2018 Forum in Vienna, Austria. President Kenyatta, Citibank, other investment inflows remain very positive. We believe that these significantly reflect capital flows from the East African sub-region into Kenya, the regional financial sector, and a perceived safe haven in a region where many countries have seen conflict. That's a fact, and I'm sure Tanzania has been a big net add in the near term. Tuskys is launching an e-commerce platform in partnership with Amazon. Takes me back to an article I wrote on the 22nd of January about e-commerce and home-based delivery has changed the world from London to China. Given the ubiquity of the smartphone here in Kenya, I'm certain the same disruption is headed our way, and that a lot of commercial real estate will be legacy assets. The millennials with their avocado eating and cryptocurrency trading ways are just as likely to be African as they are European or American. Kasarani Church Group to buy 2.8 billion shillings Uchumi land. The private limited company at the centre of a 2.8 billion shilling transaction, Jewel Complex Limited, is majority owned by Edward Mai Kiongo, who's also a leader at the church. The church hosted President Kenyatta on June 2013, about 2 months after he assumed power. Uchumi, incredibly, is worth less than $3 million. Market cap. Nairobi all shares down 16.9% year to date. NSE 20 is down 25.8% year to date. Bob Collymore, in a presentation this morning, said it took decades for Kenya to get to 4 million bank accounts, and in the last 11 years since M-Pesa, it has gone over 40 million, half on mobile. A few years ago, we were doing 100 transactions per second. We've just increased M-Pesa capacity to 1,200 transactions per second. But sometimes things do go wrong, and we apologize for the recent inconveniences, he said. Once again, I thank you for stopping by.